So, hello, fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 64554633728. And Joe Rogan essentially admits that a joke thief is in the eye of the beholder. As in whether or not someone is a joke thief, I guess it depends on the person who's looking or saying it. Anyway, before I go into it, I am Earthling, yada, yada, yada. I am by training a computer programmer. I have an MBA and a computer science degree, and traveled a bit. I have sculpted my body from down 85 pounds to what I'm at now for the last 5 years, and that's me. So, I have that video out there about Mencia being 100% not a joke thief, and I don't know why. It was really cringy of me, but this thing popped up in my recommended list of videos, and it was Joe Rogan and Bill Burr talking about Dane Cook and what's his name, Louis C.K., where Dane Cook on his CD had a number of jokes that were similar to Louis C.K.'s, and I guess maybe Dane Cook had opened for Louis C.K., so there's the allegation that, look, 3 jokes, a lot like what Louis C.K. was performing, ergo, Dane Cook is a joke thief, and he's stolen jokes from me too, from Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan actually is accusing someone of stealing a joke, not jokes, a joke. Let me just say here for the record, the idea that all comedians are supposed to be aware of all other comedians' repertoire of jokes that they have done in the past, that they are currently working on, and you can filter that and make sure that your jokes that you come up with are never similar to any other comedian's jokes, for fear of being called a joke thief. The idea of that is absurd. It is ridiculous. It is just sheer madness that every comedian is supposed to have this knowledge, like telepathically, of everybody else's stuff and know not to do it. That is ridiculous. And then the idea that somebody could come up to you and said, hey, I've been doing this joke for 15 years, you need to stop because you may have come up with it 2 weeks ago, even though you don't even know me. Or if you do know me, you didn't know that I did that joke 15 years ago because I haven't used it in 15 years, but you should stop using it anyway. What? I mean, we can compare this to what happened with Melania Trump and what's her name? Michelle Obama. That was clearly plagiarism, because you can see a certain sequence, a certain order, there's proof of it, that's clearly plagiarism. But the idea that a person could stake a claim on a situation and say from henceforth, no, what is it, America? Is it by country? Is it by I don't know, hemisphere? Who holds the patent or the copyright on a joke? I mean, there is no copyright. You can't sue anybody, but you're going to be called a joke thief, and you can lose your reputation. You can lose out on money. You can lose out on opportunities because of these allegations. Anyway, let me go into it. So Joe Rogan is there with Bill Burr, and they're talking to this guy, a club owner of the Laugh Factory, Jamie Masada, somebody I've never heard of. And they're saying, well, Dane Cook has stolen jokes, and the guy, Jamie Masada, keeps defending Dane Cook, because he's like, listen, I've known Dane Cook for 12 years. He's not that kind of person. Mencia, I don't really know him, so I don't know. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I don't know. And then, of course, Jamie is bringing up the idea. There's a funny name for somebody who's the owner of a club. But anyway, sorry if your name is Jamie, sorry. But yeah, he's saying, well, listen, there's parallel thinking. There are people who have come up with patents at around the same time for similar things, for similar ideas, for similar whatever. How can you not understand about parallel thinking? People can, animals look the same. They converge. Just an idea in evolution that two animals, like a bat and a bird, they're not from the same common lineage from a short period ago, but they both come up with an idea of how to be able to fly. Or you have, a fish and a whale. They have an idea, they come up with a form that works for living underwater. Is it that the whale copied the fish? No, it's ridiculous. So Joe Rogan is like, well, yeah, I understand parallel thinking and I understand this other stuff. People they talk about the same topics. Like if there is a bombing or something, everybody's going to talk about that bombing, something in the news. But we're talking about something else. We're talking about joke thievery. And it's like, I guess Jamie asked him, so if somebody comes up to you, and he's like, if somebody comes up to me and they're a friend of mine, and they say, I was working on a joke and I realized that it's similar to yours, he would say, yeah, no problem, because I know you're not a joke thief. So as long as you know that the person is not a joke thief, they're your friend, then they're not a joke thief, right? If you are not very close to them and they come up with a joke and they never heard about your jokes, they might be a joke thief. No, Joe. You were saying that, yeah, you do believe in parallel thinking. But I guess if it is something where there's too many instances of this parallel thinking, then you'd be like, oh, that's going to be too much. So the idea is that they played for him Louis C.K.'s stuff, and then they played Dane Cook's stuff. So in the recording, you can hear Louis C.K. stuff because I guess they aren't saying anything bad about Louis C.K., so they play it with no problem. Then they have to cut out, so you don't actually get to hear Dane Cook's jokes. But I think I've seen it written whereby Louis C.K. is saying, you can name your kid whatever you want. You can name him like F, and like with 40 Fs, and then go and clean your room, and blah, 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 and da-da-da. As far as I saw, Dane Cook is joking about children's names. It's not what Louis C.K. is saying. I think it's something like, I wish I could have 19 different children in order so I have an opportunity to name them all sorts of crazy stuff and blah, blah, blah. So what? I mean, everybody does jokes about kids' names. Does Louis C.K. own it? That? So, okay, you say to yourself, well, I guess that's one joke that they have in common. But there's another. What was this one? This one was about the fact that Louis C.K. is doing a joke about how he does not have enough time to shout out to a cyclist who's going to run into someone's car door. And, of course, the idea is that Dane Cook has a similar joke. But Jamie Masada is like, listen, you don't get it. Dane Cook actually had that exact thing happen to him. So he's banned. He can't talk about that because Louis C.K. already has a joke about it. This actually happened to him. He came and he told me that this happened. And for Joe Rogan, not so much Bill Burr, but Joe Rogan is like, no, it's too similar. It's too much. Then there is a joke about, what is it? There's a joke about that Louis C.K. did about his butt being itchy. So they are, he does this thing, he talks about his butt being itchy, and of course, you can't actually hear what Dane Cook's joke is. So the idea is, because of these three jokes from Louis C.K. that are of similar topics. And these, every time I hear people talk about joke thieves, they're like, it's the same joke verbatim, but it's the same joke, exact same, They aren't. How the hell is it that you know that it's the same joke verbatim? It isn't. I've seen video of what's his name, Mencia, supposedly stealing this joke, I think from Ari Shafir, and it's the same topic with the same essential point, which is that Mexicans build everything. So if you're going to build a wall, who you think is to keep out Mexicans? Who you think is going to build it? I mean, that joke kind of writes itself, because if you live in different areas, you know that all of the labor there is probably Mexican. So if somebody brings up something about building something that affects Mexicans, it's a joke that almost writes itself in terms of how ludicrous it actually is. But anyway, I guess those three jokes were satisfactory evidence that Dane Cook was indeed a joke thief. But here's my thought. What do they think would have been the mental, because that's important in law. Maybe not amongst people who want to just spray allegations, but it probably helps to have, you might say, well, this isn't law, this is just real life, blah, blah, blah. But why do we even have law? We have law because real life and all of these, being able to smear somebody's reputation, it wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough to say that, hey, if we're going to deprive somebody of their life, of their years of their lifetime, of their money, this better be on the up and up. We really need to scrutinize this. Because if you look at Mencia, he has lost a lot. And if that was like a sentence by a judge, the whole idea of the law is that you have to scrutinize things well before you essentially punish someone to such a horrible extent as calling them a joke thief and basically robbing them of a substantial amount of money and blah, 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 blah. So the idea is, okay, this guy seems like he might be a joke thief because he has taken three topics, similar topics, from this other person. And even if you say it's the exact same joke, word for word, is it your idea that this guy, Dane Cook, sat down, listened to everybody's jokes that he could hear, picked out the best jokes that he could find, and decided that now he's going to perform these jokes, record it, put them out on CDs with evidence that he's stolen jokes from other people? Does that make any sense whatsoever? That's what somebody would do, especially when, it's just jokes from one comedian? So in his special, he decided that I'm not going to write three of these jokes. Is that it? Or are there any other people? I mean, if we're really, really thinking about this, so he willfully, because that's what, in when it comes to law, it's not about did you do the thing or not. That's part of it. That's not all of it. It's not whether you did the thing or not. It's not whether he heard these jokes from somebody else and he reproduced the jokes. That's not it. It's about your mental state as well. The mens rea, as far as I remember. Because if you kill somebody and you didn't even know that you killed them, is that murder? No, it's not murder. If you have no idea and you were not reckless, you were just doing what you were doing, and the person died anyway, is that even manslaughter? No, it isn't. You have to not care whether they lived or died. in order for it to be manslaughter. Otherwise, it's just a horrible accident. So to actually plan to kill someone, right? That's murder. Maybe you premeditated, or maybe you decided in the moment, I'm going to kill this person. That's murder. If you're doing something that you know could end up killing somebody, but you don't care, that's manslaughter. That's what's in your head. I know this might end up in somebody's death, but I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway. That is manslaughter. You didn't actually set out to kill them, like pre-planned or on the spot. No, you just didn't care if you killed them or not. That's manslaughter. And you know what it is when you don't even know that you killed somebody? You don't even know that you were in the ballpark of killing somebody? It's just a freaking accident. So if it is, even as seemingly premeditated as it is to have 3 jokes on a similar topic to someone else, right? Even if even if it was 10 jokes from a bunch of different people, and you have no idea that these are somebody else's jokes, or you just completely forget that you'd heard it, or where you heard it, or whatever it is, as long as you are not, there's nobody can make a law. You can't make a law that says if you forgot and used somebody else's joke, you're a joke thief. You can't write a law like that. That probably would not be constitutional, because you have to have the mental state where you're like, I'm going to do this anyway, or I don't care if it's somebody's joke or not. So just to accuse somebody with well, he did it, is pretty stupid. And Joe is not a lawyer. He's not a philosopher. He doesn't really think much about these things. But it's just really sad that if it's his friend and he knows that they're not a joke thief, then they're not a joke thief. It could happen once, twice, 3 times. Don't worry about it. But if it's somebody who he knows is a joke thief because you're not on good terms with the person, then they're a joke thief, right? Or if you were friends with them, like he was friends with Dane Cook, and then somebody calls up and says, this guy is doing your material. What material? 1 joke. Oh, 1 joke. Oh. So then it's really where he's trying to get you. He's trying to take your stuff from 1 joke, Joe, right? Yeah, whatever. So anyway, that's it for me. Feel free to comment, like, subscribe, unlike any of those things. But please keep in mind what you'd like done to you if this were your contribution to the internet. Have a good one. Peace.